So official welcome to week one of critical thinking. It is 10/24/2022. A lot of familiar faces and names here, quite a few that I know. So this is going to be fun. There's a few things we're going to change up this time that even the existing students may not be used to. We're going to tighten up late work policies and things of that nature. We're working on some new, I'm working on some new procedures and policies for these classes. You guys are kind of the guinea pig on this one. I apologize. But in these, I found out in these larger classes, in the smaller classes, 10, 12, 15 people, late work and stuff really is an issue in keeping up with things. But when a class it gets to be 25 and 30, like I think I mentioned earlier, it's like, juggling flaming chainsaws while riding a unicycle. It just becomes almost unbearable, and things get missed. So I'm trying to put that off, trying to make sure that everything works as efficiently as we can. Also, it just makes sense to make sure everybody is beholden to a deadline, not only you but me as well. And it's hard to hold anybody to a certain standard, you and myself as well, if we're always trying to play catch up. So we're gonna work on this a little bit, and hopefully it works out for everybody. And I did hit record, didn't I? Yes. Okay. I've already lost it, guys. Just we just need to call it quits, right? So let me share my screen here with you guys. Okay, everybody should be able to see what looks like the home page of the class. There it goes. But whenever I share a screen, everything goes wonky on my other screen. So here we go. This should be your home page. This is the cover of the book. Those of you who are familiar shouldn't have a problem. Those of you who are new, I know you went through CLD, but maybe still new in this. I think Clarissa mentioned earlier she's kind of new to Zoom, so that's fun. I think we have Zoom is becoming the way after COVID. COVID changed a lot of things for us. Can Mom's iPhone let me know who you are real quick?
It's Deborah Hall.
Oh, Deborah. Hey, Deborah.
Hi.
Glad to see you again or hear you again.
Well, I'm driving down the road, so I'm gonna
no
mute
worries.
you again.
No worries, but I do have to I always, if I have Deborah Hall in the class, I always change my background to duck butt. So there you go, Deborah. That's her email address. So I thought it was hilarious. So I put that on just for her. So first off, this is our home page. I am going to pull up the student view so it'll look just like what you guys see. All right, so here, now all the information you need, the Zoom class, you can find here the time, my information, my Facebook page that's just for community care. There's a article here we'll talk about for won't take but about 5 minutes. I know those of you who've seen some of this before are probably ready just to not see it again. And then here's a little bit I love to share that helps us kind of understand the psychology of why we have a hard time getting things done. And that'll also help me segue into why and how we're going to tighten up our policies and procedures, starting with this class, to make sure we're all held accountable to the schedule and ourselves. It's not going to be outrageous or hard. It's not going to be like when I went to college. We had a professor. She was just hard. I mean, She made Marines scared. She was so hard. She would regular doors that could be locked from the outside but had the push bar on the inside. When class started, she closed that door, and if you were late, you were locked the heck out. And if you had an assignment due that day, you just missed it. It's a freshman comp professor. Yes, sir. Um, I've had a few nightmarish ones, and she did not play, and she didn't care. She had zero cares. If you didn't make it to that door by the time it was closed, and you were just out of luck till next class, and there was no turning anything late. So, and I've had a few that have been tough that. So, and so we're not going to that extreme because I don't think that helps anybody. We're not trying to put anybody, through the ringer here. This isn't basic training, but like I said, there's got to be an accountability, and we'll move into that. So on this homepage, you will find the syllabus. Okay. There will be a change to the late policy on the syllabus. Hopefully by Wednesday when I get a chance to write it. And also would like to apologize for this class opening up later this morning, too late this morning. It should have been done earlier. We finally figured out the problem, which is an instructor that no longer here actually created the class and had it opened up to a certain date in July, and we haven't given the class since then. And what happened is, since he no longer has credentials and the date run out, we could get into the class on Cengage, but I couldn't make any changes to it. And in the end, I had to act Cengage involved this morning, and they had to backdoor in and put me in as the primary user so I could make changes to the class. So that's why it was late. I appreciate everyone's patience. It was a heck of a morning trying to get that squared away. So, and things like that, like I said, just you can burn a lot of time doing that. So there will be some little bit of changes on here, but it will be reflected in this. All right. Let me get on my soapbox here. Discussions. Anybody who's had me before, this is worth, and let's just go into the grades real quick. Oh, sorry. Discussions are worth, should be 25% of your grade. Okay. If you, in the discussion, the original post itself is worth 20 points. And then each peer reply after that is worth 5 points each to get a total of 30 points. And then, so just to do the math, is worth a total of 30 points. Actually, let me go backwards here. We'll go down to 10. Okay, so 30 out of 30 points is 100%. As we go on down, 97, 93, 90, yada, 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 yada. And my grade, you'll see a little weird. You might get a 29.2, you might get an 8.5, a 25.6. So, and if you need help with the math, we can do that at some point. But if you don't do the peer replies and the most you can get is 20 points, that means the most you can get is a 67%. And then overall, they're worth 25% of your grade. And my soapbox is, do your discussions, guys. People, for some reason, there's a large percentage of students who just don't like doing them. And I'm almost on my hands and knees begging. These are not hard points to get. Plus, it helps refine your communication skills, written. It helps get other people involved, because at some point we're all in these distance education classes, these DE classes, we're all just faces and names on a screen. And so it helps, to kind of talk it out on these. I think it's really advantageous, and it's just part of the curriculum that we've been uh, we have been man, I've lost it. Help me. The administration, they have made these discussions a part of the curriculum. Nothing I can change, nothing I can do about it. So we just need to, do them. I usually say that should be one of the first things you do. Now, your original discussion post is due by Wednesday, and then the peer replies are due by Sunday. The reason we make those peer posts, the original post due on Wednesday, that gives everybody the rest of the week to reply to them. And so if most of everybody goes ahead and does their initial by Wednesday, that gives people a lot to read and something to answer to. So it helps everybody out if we get this on time. I'm going to try. I was going to try it last time, but the scheduling has been kind of crazy. I'm going to try to post to each discussion myself as well. So to kind of, lead by example, and then do a couple of peer replies. And maybe that'll help you see, what direction I'm going, and kind of what the expectations are. Although if you have something to say that moves the conversation along, because that's what we're looking for here, is we're looking to have a conversation and move it along and move it forward. So that being said, in your peer reply saying, Deidre, good job, I agree, that doesn't really count. Okay. When you read somebody's discussion post and you reply to it, you want to move the conversation along. You want to give us all something to think about. And like I said, I know people avoid these, like a leper colony, but we really, these are important. And I give this a variation of the speech during every class, and hopefully one of these days it'll stick. So any questions on the discussions? And we can actually look at one here real quick. We have the Stanford prison experiment and abuse at Abu Ghraib. So this is a pretty interesting stuff. Has anybody ever heard about the Stanford prison experiment?
I have.
Yes.
Okay.
In your
Super
previous
interesting.
class, I believe.
Super interesting stuff, that how when you put people into a certain role, even if it's pretend, that sometimes, it can get out of hand. Well, sometimes, usually it gets out of hand. Robin said, no, watch this video, Robin. This is a crazy thing. It was years and years and years ago when I first saw a video on it. And man's inhumanity to man is a real thing. Joyce is here. Glad to have her. So, and then also Abu Ghraib prison, where, we did detainee ops and basic. I was in basic probably long before you. That wasn't even a thought back in 1988. So, but that's cool. That is awesome. So you're going to go down here, and you're going to do your post and just write it out. Now, please, it's still pretty fresh. Went through in 07. Yeah, I bet it was. Do your best. I do look at spelling, grammar, punctuation, sentence structure. Not really hard, but that's why you'll notice that. No problem, Joyce. I would never have a problem with anybody getting therapy. In fact, I think I have my therapy session on Wednesday. So, and I feel like after the day I had, I need it. Uh, Nobody smiles, laughs. It's a
I
joke.
did.
Okay, well, sorry. Everybody's this big on my screen though as well. Um, Fill it out. I'm not looking for perfect grammar, punctuation, or spelling, but you'll see a lot of people have like a 29. I don't give a whole lot of 30s because I if it was perfect, except for, and she's not in this class, so I won't say her name, but she's always, she usually gets like a 29.8 or something silly because she's just, her writing skills are unbelievable. And then once you post this, you can go to other people's and do your replies. Like I said, let's just move the conversation forward. I think I've discussed that at nauseum. So on your module here, you'll see you have your course homes, Cengage technical support, your dashboard. You can get to the online classrooms here. Now here is if you don't show up for class and you have to do the 300-word summary, I will post it here so you can watch the video, and then you can type out your summary and either write it out like this, or you can upload it many different ways and just get to me and I will get a grade. That is also due, classes on Monday, that is due the next Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Back to modules, you'll find a lot of good stuff here. You find some video resources, all your work broken out by week, and just some odds and ends of things. Now, you'll also find all your assignments and their due dates under assignments. You see we have upcoming assignments. You have chapter 1 due on October 26th. Now, if you notice on the discussion, it says it is due on Sunday, even though the initial post is due on Wednesday. That's just kind of necessity of the system. I've got to put a due date on it. And since the whole thing is due by Sunday, that's the day I put on it. But part of this is due by Wednesday. Now, chapter 2, 3, and the week 1 test are all going to be due on Sunday by 11:59 p.m. So it's a little light the first part of the week, a little bit heavier on the last part of the week, but you can work ahead, and you work ahead all into week 4. Okay, so if you happen to get done by Friday, all the week stuff, week 1 stuff done, and you want to come and start working on week 2, that is perfectly acceptable. If you have any questions, email me, or text or call, and we will go back to that here in a moment. You'll find your grades in here. I'm considering creating a spreadsheet and sending it to everyone. When you look at your grade in the grade book, when you go down here and you look at your final or your grade, if we're still in week 1, okay, I guess what I'm trying to say is nothing counts until it's due. After it's due, then it starts to count. So if you do all of week 1's work and you have a good grade, that doesn't mean that's your final grade, because if you get some zeros or some bad grades in week 2, that's going to reduce it. So I'm thinking about making a spreadsheet where each assignment is put on here, the number of points, and then you can type in your own score as you do it to kind of keep an eye on what your total overall score is. And maybe that'll help everybody understand kind of the way, what the difference between what you're showing on here and what your total grade would be if you just stopped right then and didn't do anything else. You can find your other classmates here, and as you can see, The list is long. Okay, and then back to, where was I going at? Go back to home. Couple of ways to do it. If you, this is your link for the Zoom class. There's also a link for the Zoom class here. Here's a link for the syllabus. Syllabus is already up here. Course expectations are right here. Instructor information is here, and you will see. Picture me in my big old head. You'll have my office phone. That is not the best phone to use. I'm only there 3 days a week, and I usually leave by about 3:30 Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I do have a text, and this is also a call number that you can get a hold of me directly. And then, of course, email. Email is usually the best way unless you need something, unless you need immediate assistance. And then even then, it may take me a few minutes to respond, but I try to be real conscientious in my responses. I think Bob and Brandy and I all do. We don't always make 100% on it, but I think we do pretty well. If you need to come see me in my office, just let me know when. If it happens to be on a time I'm not normally there and it doesn't interfere with like coming to this class, then I will make sure I'm available. Okay. No worries about that. And tutoring is available in office through Zoom and during my office hours, or by phone during office hours. Text and email questions are always welcome. And but like I said, we're gonna work on tightening this up a little bit because there are a lot of people in this class. Back to our home screen. All right, so there's I'm not really too big into some of these online articles, and but this was actually a pretty good one. I would suggest you read it. I'm looking at our time here, and we might take just a couple minutes to look through it, but this gives you tips for success in online classes. Most of these things are going to be things you already know. It's just nice to have somebody put it in a format where you can read it and go, oh, okay, that's right. Okay. Setting a major goal. You guys have already done that because you're here. Okay, treat the study like a job. Now, not a job that you hate. Let's treat it like a job we like. Hey, actually, oh, here, he looks awake today. Are you not working like those 87-hour shifts or whatever it was?
I'm on my day 2 of 6. I still got to go work after this class.
Oh, wow.
I got lucky. I get off today. I worked at 10 to 10 yesterday and it was brutal. Actually, no, technically I worked 10 to midnight and that was almost 14 hours. 10 to midnight and that was a very long shift.
Oh, well, you're going to have a big paycheck, so I'm sure all of us would, like for you to share.
Well, I'm a bartender, so I hadn't even picked up my money from yesterday from Saturday.
Oh, wow. Wow.
I deal with over 1,000 people a day.
Better you than me. I remember working I actually bartended for a while when I was younger, but that was just for the girls. I know, you have to. That's the only reason a guy becomes a bartender.
At least you're
Money's
honest
great.
about
At least I'm what?
At least you're honest about it.
After like 6, 7.
Look, when I was a teenager, I used to go to church too, and it wasn't for Jesus, I promise. It was for the church girls. Okay. Got sidetracked. Okay, so manage your time carefully. Time management is probably one of the problems everybody in the world has. I know when you get off your schedule, you get off your time management routine, it is really hard to get back. So do your best to manage your time. Always, dedicated study blocks is, if you wait too long and try to cram it in, you may get away with it for a little while, but eventually it is going to bite you square in the rear end. So what I always say is if you can, take 45 minutes a day, an hour a day, or an hour today and 30 minutes tomorrow, excuse me, or, hour and a half, 3 days a week, whatever your work permit schedules, it's whatever you decide, but dedicate that study block and doing your work. That way you're not always underneath the gun, because that stress just makes it even worse. And I always say, find a quiet space. Find a space that works for you. If you ever come to my office, you'll always know I have my headphones on and I have a podcast or something running in the background. If it's too quiet, I can't work. So having some, ambient noise, whatever Joe Rogan or whoever I'm listening to at the time, isn't real. I'm not really listening. It's just, I just use it for background noise. And once again, it says eliminate distractions, but quiet is a distraction for me. Social media on your study block, and I have a hard time with it too. Stay off your Facebook. Try not to answer, keep it on your text or whatnot. If you have an hour you need to study and do homework, can't keep looking at your phone and answering text messages. You've got to, kind of take it seriously. Now, that doesn't mean you don't don't deal with emergencies, but at the same time, you've got to be adults about it. Trying to think here. All these are, I said, pretty self-explanatory things. One of my favorite one is take breaks, and where's the other one? Reward yourself. One of my things is you can't sit down for 3 hours straight and study and do work without feeling like, you want to jump off a cliff. You set back that hour and a half, and some people do it by time. I'm going to work for the next 15 minutes and I'm going to get up and walk around or do whatever I need to do, check my Facebook, something to kind of break it up. Me, I do it project wise, which is I say I'm going to finish this project and then I'm going to take my break and go make myself a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So just, do your best for that. And then also study groups. There's a lot of people here. Study groups are hard to do, but everybody has Zoom. I would say, contact people. Say, hey, you want to do a Zoom call? Can we help each other on this homework? I know getting through college, study groups, and I know it was, face-to-face classes, but study groups really saved my rear end many, many, many times, because there's always that. And I went through that today when I had some students in my office and I was trying to explain something, and one of the students explained it way better than I ever could have. And everybody goes, oh, that's what he meant, as I'm standing here fumbling around for 5 minutes trying to get my point across. So, that can help. And 2 or 3 heads are always better than one. So that's about all we're going to do on that one. All right, so here is my short video. I think it's 4 or 5 minutes. I never remember how long it is. This is Dr. Jordan Peterson. I know he's kind of he is a psychology professor out of the University of Toronto. I know he's kind of a divisive figure if you're in the political world, but this isn't what this is about. He talks for 4 or 5 minutes of why it's so hard to set on and make yourself do something. Why, and this isn't going to give you an answer, because I think each individual has their own answer on how they control that, but this kind of gives you the why and maybe makes you aware that, that everybody has this problem and you're not just floating out there alone, thinking you're the only person that cannot concentrate. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this on.
I'm a 27-year-old transgender woman, Miami Wolftherian, and a member of the furry fandom.
When and
And I don't care if she's
your
a furry, because that's
attention,
just weird.
for example,
Okay, could everyone hear the audio? Yep, okay. Here we go.
Mediated by unconscious forces. And you know that perfectly well. And this is another Freudian observation. You know, if you're sitting down to study, for example, your conscious intent is to study, but you know perfectly well that all sorts of distraction fantasies are going to enter the theater of your imagination non-stop and annoyingly, and there isn't really a lot you can do about that except maybe wait it out. You know, so you'll be sitting there reading and your attention will flicker away. You'll think about, I don't know, maybe you want to watch Jane the Virgin on Netflix or something like that, or maybe it's time to have a peanut butter sandwich, or you should get the dust bunnies out from underneath the bed, or it's time to go outside and have a cigarette, or maybe it's time for a cup of coffee, or it's like all these subsystems in you that would like something aren't very happy just to sit there while you read this thing that you're actually bored by, and so they pop up and try to take control of your perceptions and your actions non-stop. Maybe you think, well, this is a stupid course anyways, why do I have to read this damn paper, and what am I doing in university, and what's the point of life? It's like you can really get going if you're trying to avoid doing your homework, and then you might think, well, what is it in you that's trying to avoid? Because after all, you took the damn course and you told yourself to sit down. Why don't you listen? Well, because you're a mess. That's basically why. You haven't got control over yourself at all. And no more than I have control over this laptop. Okay, so there's the memory function of the unconscious, and there's the dissolutive function. That's an interesting one. The unconscious contains habits, once voluntary, now automatized, and dissociated elements of the personality, which may lead a parasitic existence. That's an interesting one. I would relate that more to procedural memory. You know, so what you've done is practice certain habits, whatever they might be. Let's call them bad habits. And you like those things to get under control, but you can't. So maybe when you're speaking, for example, you use like and you know, and you say a lot. And you've practiced that, so you're really good at it. And you'd like to stop it, but you don't get to, because you've built that little machine right into your being, right? It's neurologically wired, and it's not under conscious control. And anything you practice becomes that. It becomes part of you, and that's another element of the unconscious, a different part. And then there's a creative part, which is that, well, you know, you're sitting around and maybe you're trying to write something, or maybe you want to produce a piece of art or a piece of music, or maybe you're just laying in bed dreaming and you have all these weird ideas, and especially in dreams, it's like, where do those things come from? And even more strange, one of the things that's really weird about dreams, and almost impossibly weird, is that you're an observer in the dream. It's like a dream is something that happens to you. Well, you're dreaming it, theoretically, so how is it that you can be an observer? It's almost like you're watching a video game or a movie, but you're producing it, at least in principle, although the psychoanalysts would say, well, no, not exactly. Your ego isn't producing it. Your unconscious is producing it. It's a different thing. It's a different thing. And of course, Jung would say, well, it's deeper than that. The collective unconscious might be producing it. It's, in some sense, it isn't you exactly, or it isn't the you that you think of when you think of you. And that's the ego from the Freudian perspective, the you that you identify with. That's the ego. And outside of that is the unconscious. The id, that's more the place of impulses. And you could think about those as the biological subsystems that can derail your thinking, right? And that govern things like hunger and sex and aggression and your basic instincts is another way of putting it. And it's a reasonable way of thinking about it, because these are subsystems that you share with animals. You share them certainly with mammals. You share most of them with reptiles. You share a lot of them with amphibians, and even going all the way down to crustaceans. There's commonality, for example, in the dominance hierarchy circuits. And so these are very, very old things. And the idea that you're in control of them is, well, you're not exactly in control of them. And I would say the less integrated you are, the less you're in control of them, and the more they're in control of you. And that can get really out of hand. You know, you can be like with people who have obsessive compulsive disorder, for example, which seems to be, I would say, the dissolutive elements in some sense of the unconscious, the way that it's portrayed here. Poor people with obsessive compulsive disorder, they can spend half their time doing things that they can't really control, and they have very strong impulses to do them, and it's very hard on them to block them. You know, they'll almost panic if those things are blocked. And then you have people with Tourette's syndrome, you know, that they'll be doing all sorts of weird dances and spouting off obscenities and imitating people without being able to control it, and sometimes a little bit of antipsychotic medication can dampen that down, but it's as if there are these autonomous semi-spirits inside of them that grip control over their behavior and make them do things. And you know, you find that to some degree in your own life, because maybe you've become very attracted to someone, even maybe you don't want to be attracted to the person, and then you find yourself, you know, texting them when you know perfectly well that you should be going to bed, and you know, you're in a grip of something, and you can't control it, and that's all part of the unconscious and all part of what Freud was studying.
Okay, so no answers, just observations, right? And but I hope it kind of makes sense. So we're all in the same boat. We all have these same urges and distractions, and like he said, you know, you can really get going when you're trying to avoid doing what you need to do. And why can't you control them? Because you're a mess. And then of course the habits. If anybody has a bad habit, which I know we all do, we know how hard it is to break. That's all the way down to if you chew your fingernails. Anybody's ever chopped? Joyce is like, if you ever stop trying to chew your fingernails,
I have to get
that's
fake
just,
nails because of it.
you know, no, mine is I pick the skin off my thumbs right here. I do this, and so I've been known to put band-aids on my thumbs just so I don't have anything to pick at. And it's a nervous habit. You know, when I get under stress, I sit here and do that. So we all just know, you know, we're all in together. And as I said, not guilty of both those things. Yep, I totally believe that too. Also, the water bottle lecture, it is a really good one. It's a really good one. He has put all his lectures online for years and years and years. So if you ever get interested in any sort of clinical psychology, if you're a religious person, he does an entire series on the psychology of the Bible, which usually means he speaks for 3 hours over one verse and breaks it down into the minutest detail. And I know it doesn't sound interesting, Deb, but it is. It is fun. She's like, no, not so much. But
No, I actually there's a book called The Journey of Souls into the Lives Between Souls, and it's by Michael Newton, the book author, hypnotherapist Michael Newton, and it's one of the best books I've ever listened to. So
see. Also, he did 12 Rules for Life, also a great book, which is Jordan Peterson, great book. So you notice I just said and so and you know and like, I think all in the last minute and a half. Bad habits, bad habits. Okay, so where are we at now? We have covered everything: assignments, grades, due dates. I think I did tell you that if you go to assignments, you will see the due dates right here. Oh, right here. There we go. And so make sure you're very aware of the due dates, because here is where I am changing the policy, and you will get it in writing on an email, and I will change the syllabus as well. Okay, so week one's work is due when it's due. If you turn it in late, you can turn it in as late as the Sunday at 11:59 on week 2. What I will do is I will drop you 1 letter grade off that if you turn it in the second week. So let's say you don't get to the week 1 test during week 1 and you turn it in sometime the next week, you make a 95 on it, 1 letter grade down, you'll make an 85 on it. Yep, I saw him doing that. That's like, so we've got to hold ourselves responsible. At the end of week 2, if you haven't turned it in, week 1 will get closed out. Okay, and you are just, it's going to have to be a very exceptional reason why you can go back and do it. And part of this is I found out as these classes are getting larger, I worked the entire weekend trying to stay caught up. It was getting grades done and answering questions and going back to week 1 and 2 and 3 when people are trying to finish up week 4. And I had to call an audible. I had to call a timeout because it's just, it's not fair to you guys. It's not fair to the people who do the work and turn it in on time. That everybody, gets unlimited time on it. It's not fair to you when you're trying to cram in 4 weeks of work, the last 4 days last. You're not really learning anything or retaining anything. You're just kicking out answers. And it's not fair to me because then come week 4, all of week 4 and half of week 1, I'm just buried under an avalanche of trying to get things graded and caught up and close up an old class and started and get the new class started. And if you have any hiccups like we did with this class today, then you really get put behind. So we're trying to make this fair and equitable for everybody. Does anybody think, and honestly, speak up if you need, or you can email me or talk to me later. Anybody see that as an unfair policy? I'm just trying to fill people out at this point.
If you have to do what you have to do to make it all work out, then you have to do it.
And like I said, I'm not trying to make it overly difficult for anybody. And if you have a real reason for needing more time, that's perfectly understandable. So you can do week 2 up until the end of week 3. Week 3 can be done up until week 4, but week 4 is due on week 4. Love you. Love you too. Said that. Week 4 is due on week 4, and that's just because. And the other thing is I am bound to a schedule. Bridget Kerr, our registrar, the class is over on Sunday. I have 48 hours to get grades and everything done. And Wednesday, I have to put those grades in. And she doesn't care. I don't get reasons. If I don't have those grades in, I have her and Bob Panera both in my office having a discussion with me. And Bob's fine. Bridget's terrifying. So I don't want any of those problems. So that's to make sure I can get my work done on time as well, and make sure I can pay attention to everything else that's done. I'm trying to think of anything else I missed. You guys all caught up here? We're at 6:50. I know, and I hate spending this first class going over policies and procedures, but that's usually what it ends up being. But the good thing is week 1's work usually isn't that bad. It is usually your easiest week, and then we can get really in the meat and potatoes of it on week 2. So does anybody have any questions before we move on? Questions, concerns, anything you like to discuss before we move forward? Oh, I do have one more thing to say after that, but we'll go ahead. Is any of what on Cengage, Tyler? Oh, gotcha. Yeah, Clarissa.
Are we supposed to have a book?
Okay, so that'll help. Let's look here. When you go to, and this is on Cengage, the discussions, to answer Tyler's question, the discussions are on Canvas. All the rest of the assignments, the discussions and the attendance and participation points are on Canvas. Everything else, all the rest of the assignments, chapter 1, 2, 3, the test, are all on Cengage. So when you go to it will take you to, well, hold on, to Cengage. Hold on, guys. I can't go in as a test student. So I need to leave the student view and I need to go in as myself. There we go. When you click on the assignment, there'll be another button to click. It's going to take you to Cengage. it will take you to that assignment, but if you look down the right side here, there are various menus, and one of them is full book. And the way you navigate this book are these 3 dots up on top, and here are all the chapters. Chapter 1, this gives you the glossary of what's in here, and then you can just flip through and do your reading.
Okay, that answers everything then.
Okay. Now, when I go to this test, okay, only 6 questions here, true or false. Now, you have 3 shots at each question. Okay. So on a true or false, you better doggone get it right. So I'm not even going to read the question. I'm just going to hit true and hopefully I get it wrong. Check my work. Oh, I got it right. Okay. Let's see, call this one true. Oh, geez. Oh, it's incorrect. When it says incorrect, then you can go back and change it and do the check my work again, and boom, you got it right. So you get multiple bites at that same apple, guys. And then you can go back and retake this the whole thing up to twice, I believe. I'll have to recheck my settings. But I believe you, so if you don't like your grade, you can always back and redo it again. Okay. And then you just move on to the next question until, whoops, got one wrong. That's fine. Oh, see, I just change it. So these first few assignments should be pretty easy to get it in. And once you're done, you submit the for grading, and you will see what your score is on that particular assignment. Okay. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. I think this course should help everybody's GPA, hopefully, because they all can't be hard class. They all can't be business math and business communications and accounting principles. Sometimes you get a class that's just nice to have. So, okay, any more questions? Did I answer Clarissa's question as well, or Caitlin? Caitlin
Well,
has a
I was
question.
just-
What you got for me?
I was just gonna ask, so like, I know in our last class, the business math, whenever I would go to, well, between the two, between Cengage and Canvas, on one of them, on the right-hand side, there was a list of assignments. And then on the other one, it's like what you have on the screen right now. Do we do both of those, or do those assignments coincide with each other?
They with the discussions are their own thing in Canvas. The assignments, what happens is when this thing grades, it shoots it over to Canvas.
Okay, so we don't have to do both in both places.
No, because what happens is when you click like chapter 1 test, it takes you to here.
Okay.
And if you have any problems getting into your Cengage, let me know. Do we have any re-enrolls? Somebody that's already graduated from another course and hopped into this, the program hopped into this one? Okay, Joyce. Because I've got to check, because one of the problems we've been having is on the re-enroll, sometimes your Cengage runs out, and it's usually 2 or 3. I don't think it's popped up on my Cengage. Yeah. And I'll address that in a second, Tyler. Give me just a minute. Usually 2 or 3 courses in, right in the middle of the course, your Cengage subscription will run out and then you can't get into anything. And so I'm trying to find a way to get ahead of that. So if you are a re-enroll from another program, do me a favor and shoot me an email or text or something, let me know so I can make sure that your your Cengage doesn't run out. And usually I think the last time it happened, it was like on a Friday. And so I started getting texts and calls on Friday. Then it was the whole weekend because you can't get a hold of Cengage, and it's Monday and it takes them half a day to fix it for you. And next thing you know, you've lost 3.5, 4 days worth of work time just because of that issue. So I'll try to keep that squared away.
I was in that class.
You were okay.
I was
That's
just
right, I think I
teasing you,
need-
Steve.
Oh, what?
I was in that business communications class when that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's a pain in the butt, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah,
it's ugly.
it sucks pretty bad. Now, hold it, Tyler. Tyler, you said something about popped up on Cengage. Can you help me? I'm not sure what you mean, so you might have to spoon feed me for a second. Okay, Tyler, let's do some quick looking here. Tyler. You're right here, Tyler. So go into your dashboard. When you pull up Canvas, go into your dashboard here and see if you can find this critical thinking class right here. And you should have actually got an invitation to that. Looks like you did, and you did accept it. So you should be able to get here. It just might be a matter of figuring out. Okay. Well, click on that one, and that should take you exactly where you need to go. If it doesn't work, let me know, and we'll get it fixed for you. No worries. You're welcome. Anyone else? All right. It is 7 o'clock. As we say, we are going to stop the share, and I'm also going to stop the recording.